If someone who didn't grow up in foster care came up to me and said they had a child that never got taken away from them, I would be like, okay, congratulations. If someone who grew up in foster care tells me they never had a baby taken away, I would give them the biggest hug in the world. When I was 4 months pregnant, I didn't even know the gender of my baby. When I was 4 months pregnant, a social worker said to me, the chances of your baby being taken away are really high. And my first reaction was, what? Why? I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke anymore. I'm not getting in trouble with the police. Like, what am I doing wrong? This social worker looked me dead in the face and said, oh, you're not doing anything wrong, but, you know, you're in foster care. Because you're in care, your child probably will end up in care as well. I can expand on this, but I don't even know what to say. You could literally have someone who had the exact same life as me, the exact same age as me, the exact same personality as me. We'll even make them look like me. But if they weren't in care, social services wouldn't even know they exist. Social workers would have nothing to do with them. After I gave birth, I suffered really bad. I don't know if it was depression or postnatal depression. I don't know what it was, but I had it. I think it was postnatal depression, but I never got diagnosed. And the reason I didn't get diagnosed is because I didn't go to the doctors. I was suffering really bad anxiety, really bad panic attacks. I refused to go to the doctors because I knew that as I was a care leaver and I was still under the system of social services, even though I was no longer in foster care, I was still within the system. I knew that if I go to the doctors and tell them I'm suffering bad mental health, the doctor has a legal obligation to tell social services. And once social services get told, they will get involved. And I look back and I think how messed up that was. When you have bad mental health, having a child in general, you'll struggle. I don't care if you're married, I don't care if you're single, I don't care how old you are. Having a child, you'll struggle. If you have bad mental health, you'll struggle 10 times more. Not getting help for that mental health, you will go downhill. The very support that you need, support from doctors, whether that's counselling or medication, the very thing you need when you're in care or when you've left care and you have a baby, you feel like you cannot access those things. Because guess what? When I finally did go to a doctor, when my daughter was 18 months old, social services turned up at my house the next day, the very next day. And they said, oh, we hear you're suffering 4 panic attacks a day. We're going to need to keep an eye on you and your child. I don't even think, listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with social services getting involved when you need help. It's the way they get involved. Rather than pointing me in the directions of resources that could help me, it was very much about, we don't think you can cope. I was 18 years old. I was living alone. I was working full time. I don't think it was surprising that I was suffering a lot of stress and anxiety. I think anyone of any age, of any situation would be struggling to do that. I see it. I see you full-time working mums on my TikTok talking about how hard it is. And you're right to talk about how hard it is because it is hard. But social services don't get involved with them. They get involved with you if you've been in care. They get involved with you if you once had a social worker, and it's so unfair. So unfair. And that is why I congratulate girls who have been in care and they actually say, yes, I kept my baby. Because to some people that's not a big deal, but if you've been in foster care, if you still have custody of your child, that deserves a celebration. My point is, when social services got involved to support me, they weren't supporting me. Rather than them looking at the positives in my life and how they could help me, which they had a legal obligation to help me because I was in the leaving care team. Before anyone says, well, they didn't owe you help. Yes, they did. Legally, they did. That's what they get paid to do. Rather than me feeling like they were supporting me, it felt like they were just looking for the tiniest slip-ups. They never said, well done for raising a child alone. Well done for working. Well done for running your own house by the age of 18. It was always like, you could be doing more. Why haven't you painted the walls of your house yet? I never painted the walls of my house and they were having a go at me. Why haven't you made it more of a home? Is that really what you're going to moan at me about? Really? When I sued social services, and I mean, we settled it outside of court, so I got like no money. But the investigators wrote a 28-page report, and in this report, they said it was unfair that social services became involved. But it's not the point. That's not the point. Social services getting involved made my mental health 10 times worse. And their solution was, we'll just go on antidepressants. Just take antidepressants. That doesn't solve my problem. It's like paracetamol. When you take paracetamol for a headache, it doesn't actually get rid of the headache. It just masks the headache. It doesn't actually get rid of it. And that's what I felt like. And by the way, I've got nothing against antidepressants because I did end up going on antidepressants. But I really didn't want to. I just saw it as this isn't getting to the root of the problem. We're just masking what's wrong. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with this. If you have any questions, that might help me make a better video because I've sort of just made this blindly, not thinking.